Opportunity to CCSA. Really excited to be here and to talk a little bit about Halcyon. I know our time is short, so we'll give you a quick overview of what Halcyon is, how we incubate and invest in early stage impact-driven companies, and then we'll have a conversation with Nicholas Key, who, as Cheryl mentioned, is an amazing success story, both supported by CCSA as well as Halcyon. And we'll talk a little bit about the specific program that we are running this year, focused on climate resilience across Latin America and the Caribbean. So I will get started, and hopefully everyone can see my screen. First and foremost, Halcyon's mission is to accelerate the impact-driven future of business. And what that means for us is that we believe there is truly a competitive advantage in companies that have impact at the core of their revenue model, whether that's social or environmental impact. We focus on startups that really demonstrate that as their revenue model scales, they will be able to scale their impact. And we do that in a number of ways. First and foremost is our fellowships. So as I mentioned, we are an incubator, and as my role as managing director, I get to oversee all of our fellowship programs. And we started off with a residential program. So it's a program that actually brings entrepreneurs from across the world and across the globe here to Washington, D.C., where we're based, to get access to 14 weeks of support, whether that's mentorship, leadership coaching, skills training, access to pro bono legal support, as well as consulting support, really surrounding our founders holistically. And then building out of that, we understood a need to have some more specific and what we call intensive programming. And that's where this climate resilience in Latin America and the Caribbean program fits for us. These are shorter programs that are more focused around a specific issue area, demographic, and or region. And we'll get a little bit more into our LAC initiative in just a few minutes. I should mention that we are a nonprofit incubator investor. We're not taking equity in any of the companies that participate in our fellowships, but we're also an investor. And this investing arm really grew for Halcyon out of the needs that we saw from our founders. We're supporting founders from across the world, as I mentioned, but who are often coming from backgrounds where they don't have easy access to that early stage capital. They don't have the friends and family around that many other entrepreneurs have. So we developed 3 vehicles that allow us to invest in companies that we have de-risked as participants in our program. So the first vehicle is the Halcyon Fund, which is a venture fund. It invests exclusively in companies that have come through any of the Halcyon programs. We also have an angels network, and that network is a network of accredited investors who are interested in impact, and they invest in entrepreneurs who have come through Halcyon, as well as other impact-driven companies that are sourced by our investment team. And we've got a microloan fund, less relevant for this conversation because that's more specific to our US-based founders, but really, again, providing that friends and family round that many entrepreneurs don't have access to. So most importantly for this conversation, we've got an upcoming intensive fellowship. And as I mentioned, these fellowships are focused more specifically around both a specific issue area and demographic. And here we are looking at really the human impacts of climate change on populations in Latin America and the Caribbean. And this is truly spanning the entire region. So any country in the region is available to apply. We're looking for companies at the MVP stage who have developed a product, but maybe need some more support into testing that product with consumers and getting to market. And so really focus on that go-to-market phase. We're looking for for-profit models or hybrid ventures, and that they're addressing, as I mentioned, impacts of climate change, whether that be on health, on finance, on energy, but really anything that is supporting folks' ability to respond to climate shocks. Must be able to commit to being in person in Washington, D.C. for a residency in the late summer, as well as in a city within the region, like Mexico City, in the fall. And as part of this activity, as I mentioned, you'll get access to skills development and mentorship, pro bono legal support, ability to connect with impact investors, advisors, and media, $25,000 worth of cloud credits from Amazon, as well as a $5,000 travel stipend to cover the cost of the expenses of participating in the program. And in terms of the kinds of ventures that might be applicable, obviously we all know on this call that resilience is really wide because climate is going to impact every aspect of our lives. So this can be anything from nature-based solutions that improve resilience and support livelihoods, health solutions that respond to the impacts of climate change, financial tools that help people be able to respond to shocks, energy solutions that reduce the impact on health and environment, and ag tech solutions, climate smart ag tech solutions that improve the ability for farmers to respond to the impacts of climate change, as increase food security. So that is the quick overview of Halcyon and what we do. As I should have mentioned at the beginning, I am managing director, so I get to oversee all of our programs. But I actually want to quickly turn it over to one of our fellows, Nicholas Key, to give a quick overview of what he's doing at Key Farms, and then chat a little bit about his experience at Halcyon and how to make the most of the fellowship.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas Key again. And so I'm the CEO and co-founder of Key Farms. We're essentially an ocean farm network that focuses on climate change mitigation through ocean regeneration and restoration. And what that practically looks like is us growing things like seaweed, oysters, seagrass, and even preserving mangroves to then create different byproducts from our activities. And so we do this in a network whereby we train fisherfolk communities as well to start their own ocean farms so that we can gradually increase the yield of biomass over time. And throughout all of our activities basically contribute to carbon sequestration, reduction in ocean acidification, increasing biodiversity, of course, and just I guess the overall healthy rejuvenation of our ocean ecosystem. I was a part of the Halcyon residency fall program, which was just ended last year. And so I essentially went in with the objective of just getting all my ducks in a row. And I think Halcyon for sure provided a lot of structure in that regard. When we just came in, things were a bit all over the place. We had a direction as to I guess where we wanted to see how we wanted to get to the next 5 years, but there are missing details that we didn't really account for. And so specifically because of Halcyon, we got a lot of guidance on governance, at least better preparing our entire data room. And of course, just general guidance on navigating the funding space and overall startup ecosystem globally. I think for those who for sure want to participate in Halcyon, I think what they should be probably bearing in mind is that they at least need to have some sort of North Star to understand where it is, or rather what it is that they want to get out of the program. But not be too close-minded to a lot of the other aspects that they might be blindsided by in just going through the experience. But I think that encapsulates my experience well. I for sure encourage as many people to apply. I think it for sure has helped to de-risk our negotiations and standings in navigating this space.
Thanks so much, Nicholas. And I think that makes perfect sense and great advice for folks to have a strong vision, but be a little bit flexible on how you get there, because we know that this is a long journey that you're on. I wanted to touch on what you described in terms of really that preparation phase for you and getting, particularly as it connects to investors. I know actually through this forum, you were able to connect with an investor that had a lot of really specific requirements. I'm curious if you could just elaborate a little bit on how you used your time within the fellowship to get all of those ducks in a row that you mentioned.
Yeah, so thankfully, because of Halcyon, we got a lot of added support legally and I guess in the form of consultancy. So for the fall residency, we got pro bono access to legal support and pro bono access to consultants from Deloitte. And so through going through just the entire data room or creating the data room process with their assistance, it allowed us to solidify our position some more, and even prepare for, I guess, a funding round, a potential funding round with one of the investors that we had met with last year through the CCSA forum. And so I think that is probably, at least for us, one of the greatest ROI that we could have asked for.
And that's the what we aim for. And I think that's, to Cheryl's point earlier, that there are some gaps in that we know in the ecosystem, and as part of why Halcyon developed our own investment vehicles. And what this program and what we're looking to do, both with the program that Nicholas participated in, but particularly also with this program that's focused on climate resilience in Latin America and the Caribbean, is help people who have more than an idea, who got some traction, who need to get some additional support in getting to the investment readiness level where they can engage with some of the bigger institutional players. So I think that that's a real critical, as you're thinking about who might be right for this program, who might you share this with, or if you're a founder yourself. If you are in that stage, or you know folks who are in that stage, I think it would really encourage you to have them apply and then participate in this program, because as Nicholas mentioned, it's really at that stage where we can help make that level of connectivity and provide a level of support where people have the basics that they need in order to get to the next levels in conversations. Great. Nicholas, any final last words you'd like to share before we turn it back over to the CCSA team in terms of advice?
Yeah, I guess expect things to take longer than than they probably would. Not necessarily just specifically on funding, but just navigating the entire space generally. Especially, well, more particularly this climate change ecosystem. It's not like I guess, in tech, where things kind of move at the speed of light. This is more so definitely a marathon that requires a lot of support from third parties like Halcyon and like the CCSA. And so I definitely believe we need more of that. And if you can get tuned in and plugged into as many of these network nodes, it will make navigating the space much easier.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. And thank you so much to the CCSA team. Back over to you.